Money has always mattered in politics, but pretty soon it may be all that matters.
And here with us now, Lisa Rosenberg, government affairs consultant at the Sunlight Foundation, and Paul Blumenthal, our Huffington Post collaborator on this money in politics coverage. You wrote, Paul, about the Renee Elmer's story and the vote change in the face of super PAC money as a threat. How closely correlated are vote changes and voting with super PAC money flows? How traceable is that?
Well, it's really hard to trace something like that directly. What we're going to be seeing, though, is probably a lot more of this corporate or union money going to a lot of these outside groups, whether they're a nonprofit or a super PAC, and being spent without the voting public knowing on candidates trying to influence where they stand on particular issues. And I think that that's a really important thing to look at, is you sort of have these groups that are operating in an unregulated atmosphere, and they're sort of operating like mercenaries for political operatives and for political campaigns on legislation.
Lisa, how distorting is the gigantic secret super PAC money compared to the money that has already infected the political universe going back to certainly 77 with the Supreme Court? So if we assume it was kind of screwed up till Citizens United, give us the order of magnitude of how much more screwed up and where we see that since Citizens United.
It's incomprehensible how much more screwed up it is now than it was before Citizens United. And the reason is because the money acts as a microphone. So if there's a message that a lobbyist for a bank or a corporation wants to get to a member of Congress, that message is going to come in a lot louder and a lot clearer when it is amplified by hundreds of thousands of dollars of dark money contributions. Meanwhile, the voices of the rest of us who don't have that kind of money get completely drowned out.
The underlying real genius of the power structure, Paul, from the money and the political standpoint is, as much as the money can influence what you do or how the policy is written, the money is incredibly valuable at preventing you from doing anything about something that I want to protect. Give me a sense of how good money is at preventing revisions in the tax code, revisions in fairness in environmental policy, real bank reform debate. How good of a fence is it to prevent debate, in addition to make policy?
I think that's probably one of the biggest things to look at in money in politics, is a lot of it is being used to play defense, to block action in Congress. And, you know, you look back at the whole mortgage debacle, you look at the kind of money that Countrywide or these other mortgage originators spent on politics. You know, Countrywide even operated a VIP system for lawmakers to give them preferential mortgage treatment on their houses. And this is in addition to their campaign contributions. And you saw from, 2004 on, every attempt to reform that beaten back by lawmakers who were increasingly given more and more contributions. And it was almost always the lawmakers who got more contributions from these industries that voted against the legislation that would reform it.
And again, remember from our reporting on Friday, 93 or 94% of the time, the campaign or the candidate who spends the most money wins. In other words, if you're wondering if money is determinative, the person with the most money wins. To that end, we did a podcast with Tom Ferguson at the University of Massachusetts, political science professor, who basically described the entire political environment as a Walmart or Best Buy big box store with a price tag on each chairmanship and each legislation, and just an auction process for who it's worth the most money to pay for. Take a listen to Professor Ferguson in the podcast.
They stuck posted prices on their committee assignments and the slots on those committees, like committee chairs and party leadership posts. You want the job, you raise the cash and buy it at the price. And for the higher up you go in the party, the more you have to raise. I mean, these guys are running an auction system, and it's, of course, not just the Democrats. There is successful bipartisanship in America, and it has to do with money in politics.
Why are you laughing, Paul?
Well, I mean, that is just a huge thing that has changed over the past 30 years, along with the introduction of campaign finance reform is, originally congressional chairmanships were given out based on seniority. A lot of the leaderships were given out based on seniority. And now they've sort of been changed to revolve around how much money can you raise, how much money can you give to your other lawmakers, especially the vulnerable ones. I mean, this is what gets you a seat on an important committee. This is what gets you a chairmanship. And, we could be seeing this increasingly involved with the super PACs, especially now that they're candidate ones or, ones that are, sort of associated with a political party, and that candidates can raise money for them. Maybe leadership posts will go to those who can raise the most money for a super PAC from a corporation or a union.
And Lisa, how distorting to a policy debate is it to have the chairmanship in committees, whether it's Democrats or Republicans, determined by an auction process for who can raise the most money?
I mean, we aren't going to have an honest policy debate in this country if this secret dark money keeps coming into our elections. It's extremely distorting, and I think the other problem that we really need to address or consider here is that the messages that the lawmakers are hearing, money buys access, so they are hearing from the highest bidder. But in addition, this super PAC money in turn buys candidate ads. You're going to see things that look like campaign ads from now until the presidential election, and the public isn't going to know who is paying for those ads and where the money's coming from. It could be from, one individual incredibly wealthy person or a few corporations. And to me, what is frightening is the messages that we hear on television. We're not going to know who the messenger is, and I think that's very distorting. When I go to the voting booth, I want to know who my candidate may be beholden to, and I'm not going to know that with all this secret money that's coming into the elections. Well,
I can't thank both of you enough for helping all of us better understand this and to help us try to create a consolidated bullhorn from the Huffington Post to the Sunlight Foundation to obviously our resources here at MSNBC and the Dylan Ratigan Show to better understand this. We are intending tomorrow to launch a petition to deal with this, along with the debate around the formation of a constitutional amendment, and I hope that both of you will join that debate and help us continue to shake the bars on the cage, as it were, to the point that they actually hear us. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.